Yeah, let's get into it. So, Brandon and I, he is an InvestorFuse customer, has been for I can't remember how long now. We meet weekly and we just kind of talk about the landscape of how InvestorFuse fits into a team. So Brandon runs a virtual team, and it's a really interesting structure. If you want to learn more about it, I suggest you click that link I said in the chat and watch the podcast or show, whatever you want to call it, because he goes into a lot of detail about it there. But one of the questions or thoughts that I've always wanted to do inside of InvestorFuse was creating automation that helps you maximize the amount of profit from the leads that you're already bringing in. Like, we specialize in follow-up. We specialize in making sure that your team knows what they need to do when they need to do it. And we're constantly looking to see how can we make that better. Brandon and I had this thought about, well, let's make a new feature called Resurfacing, which we'll talk about here, and how it works, what it does, what the benefit is to your team, and everything there. So it is a pro or premium level feature. So if you are joining and you're an essentials team, you will need to upgrade. Upgrade. Brandon can show you some of the cool reasons, why it's worth upgrading. If you are pro premium, you got it. So you'll be able to walk away from here fully informed about the feature and how it works. But let me go ahead and pin. No, I don't want to pin. That's me. How do I spotlight? Spotlight for everyone. Continue. So I'm going to spotlight.
Oh, shit.
There we go.
Now we're ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille. Let's do it.
Sorry to warn you. Let's do this.
I appreciate that, John, spotlighting me so everyone can see what I got going on here. Try to pretty it up for you today. I run a virtual team, but regardless of what type of team I run, right? Whether you run an in-office team, whether you run a virtual team, or whether you're just solo, eventually, if you don't have this problem already, you're going to have the same problem I had. Too many leads. And yes, that can be a bad problem, right? Now, we're all InvestorFuse clients, but not so long ago in a time far away, I was a Podio. I was a Podio customer. And we all know that it just got messy. There were so many leads there. And now, as if you're pro premium, right? If you're a premium member, you have this thing called groups where you can really start to define where your leads go and how and who gets to see them. But that's not always the case for everyone. If anyone's on basic, or if you're thinking about joining InvestorFuse because you are in another system, right? It got to a point where I had so many leads. Now, depending on your organization, you could be generating 100 new leads a week, 200 new leads a week. You need to feed the beast, right? If you have one acquisition or 2-3 acquisition people, you might need anywhere from 50 to 150 new leads a week to keep them going, right? Not to mention the garbage leads that come in through your call systems, right? The not interesteds, the fuck yous, all those types of things. So I had got to this point where I was like, I had thousands and thousands. I think in my Podio, I had I don't know, John knows my Podio. I was up to 30, 50, 60,000 leads. I just had a ton of leads. And the problem is, I thought that was wasteful. I thought it was okay, where are my leads? Are they dead leads? Did we forget about them? What's happening? And at that point, I was like, man, I'm wondering what's happening in here, right? And I got a call. It was funny because as I'm understanding that there's a problem, my office got a call in, not me specifically, but my acquisition team got a call in, and it was already in our system. But we had already coded it out. And we ended up making $70,000 off that lead. 70 grand. And this thing was, and this was a while ago when we first started this whole endeavor, but this was I think it was an 8-month old lead that had been coded and no one had resurfaced. No one touched it because we didn't think about resurfacing back then. We just moved on to the next lead. The new leads coming in, We move on to the new ones. The cold callers are pushing over, or we're live transferring. That's what we were focusing on, always focusing on the cream or the foam on the top, never worrying about those gems that sink to the bottom, right? All that flavor that sinks to the bottom. That's a good analogy. Flavor that sinks to the bottom. And that's what happened. This 70K worth of flavor sank to the bottom. Didn't call it. I can't say I did anything special. Like, we did jack shit to earn that money. It was pure luck. And it dawned on me. I understood what the problem was. I said, we are leaving so much money on the table. And if I had to guess, I freaking couldn't, because I never even attempted to go through all these leads. I was hounding our marketing team, generate more leads, buy more data, move into a new market. We've all been victim of that, right? Move into a new market. I know a guy who bought solely absentee data, and when he would run out, he'd move to another market. I know people who mess with niche lists, and when they run out of niche lists to buy, they move in somewhere else because they're great at county data. But we're bad as investors of really understanding our data and keeping it organized. So when this happened to me, I said, okay, I need to create a system. So I did. I created a very manual process where I had part of my team, I separated my team, and I had people go through, and I started with my old Podio system when I was in InvestorFuse, and I had people, and I had John help me, and we created because I told him about this problem, and we created this manual process where we could push over our Podio leads into IF3 and segregate them and categorize them so we could see if this was something real. So I had people calling, resurfacing them manually, right? Going through, reading the notes, thousands of leads in Podio, and resurfacing them. And then it happened. We started getting deals. And I was like, I got excited. I was like, oh shit. Okay. Like, I've already spent this money. There's still shit in here. And here's why it worked, right? Because so many of these leads, again, were 8 months old. Well, we all know what had happened in 2020 and 2021, 2022. The people that I said no to on a price in 2021, well, in 2022, I could offer that and more, right? The people that said no, the landlords that said no in 2020 at the beginning of COVID, well, at the end of it, might need to sell. But the problem is I was always marketing new leads, never going back. Now, I know you could say, well, Brandin, if there's any type of pain or motivation, you should just schedule that on an automatic follow-up. Well, again, when you're dealing with this many leads, that tends to clog your pipeline, right? It clogs your pipeline and it doesn't focus your acquisition people. So as we started creating this manual process, right, and we started getting deals from it, I realized it was like its own lead channel. So like John told you, we sat down and I was like, John, listen, man, I was like, I feel like we got so many wasted leads. The way I'm doing it now, it doesn't work. Can your system provide people a way to do this automatically? And that's where resurfacing was born from, okay? Just plain and simple. I got freaking lucky. I hit it big. It like a light bulb went off and I started manually doing it. And John said, my system can do this automatic for you. In fact, I could do it even better. I can allow you to customize it based on how your team wants to do it. And that's where the magic happened, right? So we've been testing it in here and we started doing this. And I thought it was really cool because like, it just makes sense, right? Like somebody says no today, but what happens in 6 months? And then do I want to remarket them, right? Do I want to remarket them every single month? Well, no, because that could be hounding to them, right? That could be problematic because you're spending money to do that. I don't know about you, but we switch our marketing types every single month too. We adjust our marketing. So it could be very difficult to do that. So what happens is the other thing it really solves, and as a virtual team, we do a lot of training, but I cannot solve for human error. And it's something that worries me, right? So we talked about just people changing their mind, right? Somebody changing their mind and saying, oh, I don't want to sell now, but I want to sell in the future. My pain has changed. My motivation has changed. What about when your team fucks up? And I get it. You could hire someone could say, Brandin, I got a lead manager to do that for me. Well, when you're dealing with a lot of leads, a lead manager can human error and fuck up too and miss something. So we train our team every day. We do training no matter what. And I have a manager that trains my closers throughout the day too, but they still mess up on a lead status where they could you know, someone says no and they go, oh, offer too low. And it goes back into that freaking oblivion, that abyss, and it codes out. Someone could say not interested, but really it's my team's fault for not really uncovering the pain. And they're just not interested in talking to my team member, not that they're not interested in selling. So it got to be a lot with that too, where it was like, I am constantly, and my manager, we're constantly watching what people are statusing. And I said, well, that's very manual too. Can IF3 solve that problem with something automatic? So that way, if somebody accidentally dead something out, right? We're using the word dead and resurfacing, like we're resurfacing dead leads. We're reviving them from the dead, essentially. And that's what this is. It's reviving dead leads, not alive leads, not leads that you're still working, right? Technically, we're focusing on those dead leads, the ones that we've coded out. And if a agent codes something out, is not interested, invalid, opportunity lost, these different type of statuses that you guys use. And I know every single team uses something different, and John allows you to customize it. I wanted to be assured that I had another shot at it. Because offer too low today can mean correct offer in 2 months. Somebody not interested today in 14 days or in a month could be interested. Somebody who said, you know, I'm not interested, I think, you know, take me off the list. Well, are they take me off the list in a year? Can we resurface them in a year and re-jog their memory? Someone said that I'm talking to a realtor. What do you do with that? And how we train them on this is I use an analogy called hunting versus foraging, right? Because the last thing, what IF3 does really well, and because IF3 isn't one of those all-in-one systems, right? It focuses, and you guys know because you use it, it focuses on your sales team. So what Resurfaces does is allows your sales team to fucking sell. Just sell, bro. Don't worry about your fucking old shit. Don't worry about following up with some shitty person who was like half-assing, maybe motivated. Let's let somebody else do that. And you go hunt and kill the people with pain, right? I always use an analogy like if you, I don't know if there's any hunters, but if you pull back an arrow and you shoot a deer and you wound it, you know there's pain. You want to go after that deer. You don't want to just let it wander off in the woods. You want to go out and hunt it, right? Whereas foraging, right? We're just kind of out there seeing what's around and looking. And I don't want my closers foraging. I don't want them wandering aimlessly through the woods to see what type of fucking berries they can find. I want them out there hunting and killing. So we do this thing where we call it down the pipeline, out the pipeline, down the pipeline, out the pipeline. And it's important if you're using resurfacing, and I'll show you how to do it, but if you're using resurfacing, you train your team to know when it's okay to release a lead. I'm going to say that again, when it's okay to release a lead, because I got you, bro. I got this net that even if you fuck up, I'm going to catch you. I'm going to resurface this thing to my follow-up team. And if you miss something, they'll catch it and bring it back into the group for the closers to close. And you just focus on the people with pain. So when somebody says offer too low, they have a decision to make. Is this something it's offer too low and like you just fucked up and this person desperately needs to sell because they're going to get foreclosed on and you just didn't offer enough to cover that foreclosure amount? Or is this offer too low because these people don't really need to sell in the next 30 days and they're just shopping around? So we train our team to hunt, to know the difference between that pain. And if there's not enough pain, they release it and they're confident in knowing that our follow-up team is going to catch that lead on a resurface, talk to them again in, I don't have it up here. I think ours are 30 days for offer too low. Yeah. And if it's offer too low, they'll resurface that in 30 days and they'll catch it. But I don't want you to clog your pipeline. I don't want any of my closers to clog their pipeline hoarding leads, because if you have a clogged pipeline, you can't properly have a good vision on your pipeline. You can't properly see what type of sales you have coming down, who you need to focus on, who you need to close, and all of that. So that's what resurfacing does, right? It'll allow your closers to be confident that no, even if they release a lead back into the queue or back into the resurfacing queue, that they can focus on what they do to make money, which is sales, motivated people, people with pain, and that lead will still be resurfaced to the group or directly to them, however you set the rules. Okay. And I think that's the biggest thing is this is not, I want to say this is not an automated tool. It is automated to a point, but it's not automated to where you don't need to train your team. You can come in and set up your rules. You can ask John even to have my lead statuses. I don't give a shit. But my lead statuses, I train every single day, at least a couple times a week at a minimum. I go through lead statuses with my team to know what they need to code it out as and what the results are. I make them aware of what's going to happen, that this will recode in 14 days. This will resurface in 1 day. This will resurface in 90 days or 6 months. Okay. And that's the most important thing, that when you're using resurfacing, you train your team how to coexist with it and work together with it because it's a part of your team. How it looks for me, John, can I share my screen? I can
Muted, but yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Let me show you what I got going on. Share screen. Oh, so like I said, you're going to be resurfacing a lot of your dead leads. So here are my lead statuses. So I have different things. I made sure that I kind of dialed along with the team when I was making these because I wanted to know all the different things, and not everyone's going to use my statuses, to each your own. And that's the beauty. John lets you do whatever the hell you want to do in your system. You might not have op ghosts. You might not have leads. I have the difference between leads and opportunities. My team is trained on the difference between what a lead is and what an opportunity is. So we know how to categorize and watch our KPIs. Lead is someone we don't have the opportunity in buying. So you can build a resurfacing rule off of any one of your dead reasons. So off of any of these. Now, I'm probably not going to be resurfacing all of them. Like, I'm not going to resurface wrong number. I'm not going to resurface do not call. There are certain ones that I just don't want to resurface. But there are some, right? Like, I'm not going to resurface op sold. That's not something we do. We do resurface our op realtor leads, right? And we actually resurface them to a different group, because that's what's really cool is you could set the individual rules up and resurface them to any group that you want or any team member, and even set up alerts. So I build my resurfacing off of all of these, whether it's opportunity loss categories or invalid categories. And here are just some of what I set up to show you guys, right? So let's see. If they decide that they're keeping it, right? For me, that means we've talked to you, we've had long conversations, and although you said you wanted to my cold caller, now we have decided that maybe the time is not right for you. And my team is trained that if they are not right in less than 60, max 90 days to sell, right? They need to drop that lead out of their pipeline and not clog their pipeline. So I have this set up for, what is that, roughly 5 months? I believe that's 5 months that it comes through. So if in 5 months, right, these people haven't called us, guess what's happening? We're calling them. And so we set up an action here. So I can set up where I want this to go to. And so I chose that you can choose a user. If you're a solo team, John doesn't care. He sets you up so you could do it as an individual user, and you could pick whatever user you want out of here, right? Or you can leave it as a group. Oh, I fucked up my rules. The things I do for the webinars. You set up as a group, and I want this now released back to, resurface back to my follow-up specialist, right? So in my company, I don't believe in automations. I know everyone loves their sequences. Everybody loves sequences, not Brandin. I train people to do things. And so I have follow-up specialists, and their job is to do this. So instead of releasing something or having it going into a sequence, I had to go to my follow-up specialist, and my follow-up specialist every day has metrics she has to meet. And part of it is making sure she's touching all the resurface leads for the day. So this will resurface in 150 days to this group. And I always choose to leave the unassigned in the group for people to choose from. So if you're a premium member, I believe premium members have groups available to them. So if you're a premium member, you can leave it in the bucket, the group bucket. So if you have more than one follow-up specialist and we're hiring another one, then they can fight over which resurface leads that they call, because my team gets bonus on what leads they touch. So if one of my follow-up specialists touches a resurface lead, pushes it back over, live transfers it, turns into a deal, they get bonused on that. So I drop it into groups so they can fight over it and they can make sure that they're working the leads on the way that they're trained to do it. So I'll save that right there so I don't mess that up. The other thing is so like for the realtor one, you can come and you can create. You can create a new group. And I'll call this one retail. I figured I'd save this. I came up with this idea. I was like, man, I just want to kind of move this to retail. I want to come over here and I want to set up what users can see it. So that's really cool with the groups. If you're not a premium member, you need to be. If you don't have this feature, this thing fucking crushes it. We have training groups set up, VIP groups set up, follow-up specialists, closers, cleaners. Each one allows certain people to see the leads. So for example, for this one, I'm just going to give it to myself for this purpose. And I can come up with settings. I'm not going to play with any of these right now, but you could set up how you want the rules to be inside this group. So I created this retail group, and then I'm going to come back to my realtor lead, and I'm going to actually change this. This was my old way. We implemented a new system. I'm going to say resurface in 1 day, because now we're going to be assigning out those leads, right? So every time I get a realtor lead, I train my team on doing opportunity realtor. I'm now going to give another person, which in this situation is me, access to this group, and their job is to go through that lead, call a realtor and refer this lead off so we could get a commission or a referral, right? So I could come over here and I pick group, and now I'm going to pick where the I got to refresh the page. Got to refresh, guys. Hang on. Realtor, do one, action, come through, retail, boom, and I save it. And you can see I have an email notification set up. Okay, so with that email, I have it going to the person who is going to get it. So if I come here, I'm just going to slide this over. I had a couple send over. You could see, other than all the wholesalers sending me deals, ignore all. New deal, new deal, new deal. Other than all the wholesalers sending me deals, you can see that I got realtor leads. And you can type in whatever message you want. I typed in a basic message earlier or the other day, just for the purposes of this. But so I can now make more money by organizing how these leads goes with John's automations. And then all those leads will go into the retail group. And the person I assigned to do that task can focus on it. And you could do it for any one of these resurfacing style of tasks or opportunity. So we have this thing called ghost, meaning 7 days. If one of my acquisition people is in the middle of an offer, right? Remember, my whole philosophy is do not clog your pipeline. Keep a clean pipeline so you can work it appropriately, down or out, down the pipeline, out the pipeline. If they're working with somebody and making offers and they can't effectively move it down the pipeline into either another offer, follow-up, or contract, they get a couple days with me. We have like a call, text, call type of rule. If we're not getting a hold of them after a couple of days and we are effectively trying different methods too, I don't want you to keep focusing on them. I want you to resurface them. And in 7 days, the follow-up team will go through and find out from a new perspective as to maybe if they can get a hold of them. Why did you ghost us? You know, was there a problem? Would you like to talk to our team again? What's the situation? And hopefully that person is more willing to talk to somebody new, because odds are the closer fucked up. They put too much pressure. They said something wrong. They didn't really listen to their pain or problem. So the last thing I want is for that same guy to keep this lead for the next 6 months, trying to call it once a day and no one gets a hold of it. I want my follow-up team to do that. And I want my closer to focus on the people that are picking up for him. And so I moved this one up to 7 days, right? Because I don't want to wait too long. but I also want to leave a little breathing room. And so that's the cool thing, right? Is John gives you that ability to set the different dates, what groups you're sending it to. So you may not run your business like me, but John gives you the ability to run it the way you want, the freedom to do that. And that was something we thought was important when we were designing it, because to be honest with you, listen, man, my business is like this all the time, right? On an upward trajectory, but it's always bumpy. And sometimes I got to pivot. And so I know that using IF3 with like this system, if I pivot, this system will allow me to pivot with the way I structure my groups. Like training, we just added the training group the other day because we were onboarding a couple new closers and we needed a better way to train them without them fucking up our good leads. So we, with John's thing, we came in with the groups and we're going to resurface some of the lower ones, like the not interesteds and not respondings. We're going to resurface them directly into training. So our trainees have leads to pick from and to work during their training protocol. And that's the cool thing too, is it can help you onboard, not just close. You can really set up your system with this resurfacing. And guys, listen, I know I've been talking for like 30 minutes and that like, there's so much more that it can go to. And I want you to know that like, if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do. At Mr. Realovative, you're more than welcome to DM me. And I am happy to help any InvestorFuse member is like family. I am happy, especially if you took the time out to hop on the webinar. I am happy to answer questions. Carlos is here on the call. He knows more about this than I do. I mean, you hop on a call with him, they can walk you through it. And John makes he does a very good job of making sure you guys are white gloved into any of the new features. And if you want any of my setups, you can have them, but I'm sure you run your business your way. So it could be a little different. The other last thing I wanted to say, going through what I had, was we talked about who we assign the action to. And we talked about setting up into different groups. But the other thing that we have is for roles. So one of the cool things with each part of my group. So if you see here, my closers, John implemented this thing and he's releasing it where he allows me to give each role or group a specific action that they're allowed to do. And if you notice, the resurface lead category is not available for the closers because they need to focus on closing and not resurfacing leads. Instead, I've given that action availability to my follow-up specialist. So I'm now setting up custom workflows for each department in my team, right? For each member or for each department in my team now has specific workflows and things they're allowed to do. And then what I could do with these roles is I could set up a thing that came out with, and I just wanted to briefly touch on it because one of the things I was afraid people were going to say was how complicated all of this could be. Not for you, because y'all motherfuckers are geniuses, because you're all entrepreneurs and you all got this far in business, which means you have the ability to figure things out with the right help and the right research. So we're not worried about you. But for that VA that you got, for that guy you just hired, for that guy who used to be a car salesman and didn't really use any of this shit, right? For the guy who was pushing Sprint mobile plans, right? Hustling in a retail environment, all this is new. So when I first implemented this, I had a freaking problem. I was resurfacing leads, and then my follow specialist didn't know what to do to give them back to me. It was a big problem, right? Like we went through all this trouble designing the front end build of how to get leads to resurface, revive the freaking dead so we can make money. And then when she got, right, because it's Brenda, right? I got Brenda doing my follow specialist. She was a cold caller, re-promoted into the follow specialist role, right? Career path, always moving forward. And she's like, well, now what do I do? I got someone who said yes. I'm like, well, just push it over to me. And she goes, how do I do that? So I created some videos and I was like, okay, here's what you do. And I made some Loom videos and I sent it to her and she kept making mistakes. And I realized there was a problem with this. Sorry, I had my chat up covering it. So John said I could solve that problem, bro. Don't worry about it. So we called it push 2 because we wanted to push it real good. Who remembers that? So I wanted to push it, man. I want to push it real good. And what I want them to do is not have to worry about how to push things. So when my follow-up specialist revives a lead, right? she comes in here and she has this push to feature, right? Called FUS to closer. So when I come here, it's push to, it drops down here and she can pick without having to do any of this shit. Cause this was the problem, right? She's pushing through this shit. No matter how many Loom videos I made, she was assigning it to the wrong people, the wrong groups, not taking off her ownership of it. And I was like, no mas, no more. So we came through and John came up with this. So now all she has to do is this. Watch this. Boom. Done. No assignments, no nothing. She clicks the complete action, which I'm not going to right now, but she's going to click that and it automatically goes where I tell it to go with the rules that I set forth with even the little message, right? Nice message. Right? So you can put that in there and you can leave any message so your closers know. So when they see this, they are immediately notified, right? That because it comes in as a call new lead. That's how I want my resurface leads to be. Call new lead. And they leave it unassigned in the closers group. And then I leave a message and I train. The key thing here is training. I train my team that when they're in here, they see this action, right? You see this freaking action whenever I can never find it. You know, the action, if there's action instructions, it would be like right here. Normally, if you guys are I have 3 members, you know, there's usually a little note here for the action right up here, and it'll pop in and it'll say, hey, this is a lead from the resurfacing team or the follow-up specialist. And they know immediately how to handle that call if it's not a live transfer and they're just calling a warm lead. And that's the key there too, right? Is being able to set the rules and the due dates and all of that. Now, the other cool things was when you push it and you push it real good is you can set up other things. Like we set up push to review, right? So where we want something to go to a review and I could pick who I want it to go to. Like I want it to go to my manager. So it could be a real simple thing. And the best thing is, remember, I picked the role. So look at this. Only the follow specialists and the closers could see this, right? None of the other teams have this ability for a deal to be reviewed because I'll set something else up for them, for their department, and I could keep all their roles segregated. And so that makes it easy. If anybody's been onboarding people and you could use this for underwriting, right? Push to, let's say you got a deal and it's ready for underwriting. You could create a group called underwriting and anybody ready for underwriting could push it into there real quick. The underwriter, you can have an email notification set up. They get email notified. Holy shit, I got a new deal. I got to write up real quick. Boom, value it, write the notes in, come up with the value, push it right back to whoever it was, because you could set it up that way. That person then gets notified that they got it back. Boom. Oh, and it looks like I can offer you $50,000. How does that sound? So you could set that up anyway. I specifically use it for reviews and for my follow-up specialist to move things around our system. And for me specifically to move things from our closer group into a VIP group for my manager to take a look at. And so those are really cool things. And the last thing, I know I said that was the last thing, but you know, there's just so much. I just got to keep going. The beauty is KPIs. John's releasing and it's not ready yet, but we had decided that this is going to be considered a secondary campaign. So you could start tracking, just like I realized when I got my first one. And then all the ones after that, I was like, oh shit, this is like its own marketing channel without me having to spend freaking money on it. So now you'll know in your KPIs and on your dashboard, how many of your deals, all right, if you're trans person or whoever you have putting in your deal tracker, right, how many people you have that are getting resurfaced deals, and you could see what your results are from your resurfaced deals, because it's going to log as its own campaign. And that's where I think the beauty comes in. That's the piece of resistance right there. The fact that you're going to be able to track this and say, holy shit, this has actually added value to my team. Now, listen, I know, you know, you guys, if you guys don't have this or don't know how to use it, you need to reach out to Carlos and John. If you're a pro member, you need to be a premium freaking member to get all the extra juice that's on top of this baby. If you're a premium member, well, you're already premium, you're getting the best. Just reach out to somebody to make sure this is set up properly. And if you need any advice from me or any help from me, just DM me on Instagram at Mr. Real Innovative. Ask Carlos or John for my contact. They know to give it out. Anybody that you guys need help, will get you set up on this. Because if you're not using this, you're doing something wrong. You're leaving too much money on the table like I was. And I thank the heavens that 70K fell in my lap, because I would have never gotten to this point if that, and that's usually how it happens, right, guys? Like, just random shit happens and that light bulb goes off, and that's how we came up with it. So I'll now open this up to questions. Thank you for being patient for that, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Hold on. I have questions first.
Oh,
Let's call them perfectly positioned to point out a couple of things. So Red Hat already did ask, and that was something I did want you to show. What does it look like to your follow-up specialist when they get a resurface lead and they didn't make contact? They're not going to use that push to. They're not going to send it to the closers group because they got a hold of that contact. What do they do from there?
So say that again. So sum it up. So they want to know not what it looks like when it's resurfaced, but as they're working it, what it looks like.
Yeah. So let's say that follow-up specialist gets that resurface lead action. They call that lead, and the lead didn't pick up. Do they resurface again? Do they do follow-up with seller again?
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's actually pretty smart. So listen, guys, don't all race to call this person all at one time. Okay, dial it back a little. It's not that good of a lead. That's why I used it. So what happens is, so that comes through as resurfaced here. So I could go to my actions. And let's just say I could not reach the seller. It's going to go through your normal queues, right? So my team knows that if you're, what am I trying to say? My team knows that we work on a certain, like a bell curve style lead status. So if you're calling the new lead, it's a new lead until you get a hold of them type of thing. It's a call attempt, call attempt, call attempt. And if you talk to them, and let's just say they pick up and they say, hey, I'm busy, or hey, call me tomorrow. Hey, let me think about it. Call me back in a week, or whatever it is. They would just go through their regular follow-up with seller. So for us, we do call new lead, call attempt, follow up with seller, offer follow-up, and then it goes into contract or it cycles back, right? That's it. We use those main statuses, and I work off of like a bell curve. I can always go into that on another thing. But anyway, so that happens there. Now, what happens, and if so, you come here and you say due tomorrow. And so it's going to work just like any other lead for any other team member, right? It goes into their actions. I don't need to go through that. You guys know it goes through your actions. It pops up as your actionable item tomorrow. The real awesome thing is, and I ran into this problem, and John added this in for me, is if I come here and say dead, I get this box right here. Meaning your follow-up specialist has the right to choose if you want this to be resurfaced again. We don't want an infinite loop problem where every time you put something in and is not interested, it keeps resurfacing in 15 days. Eventually you have to dead it. Like eventually you got to fucking chop the head off the zombie and pack it away in different boxes in different corners of the world so the thing can't come back and haunt me, right? So that's what this is this box. So if it's somebody you got a hold of and you don't push it to closer, you're just going to work it like a regular lead, right? And that's your follow-up specialist job. My follow-up specialist has actions that she does every day before she goes into the bucket. If you get a hold of them, the follow-up specialist gets a hold of them and they say, no, I still don't want to talk. They have two choices: hunt or dead. Should they continue to hunt them and put them in a future follow-up manually, right? Or in the resurfacing, or should they just dead them out and choose to never revive them again and say, this person has been harassed enough by this company. We do not need to keep trying to find out if they want a cash offer. And so that's what this button is. That was a good question, John. Sorry, I didn't cover that.
How would you know how many times it's been resurfaced? Let's ask that question.
Oh, it's like he's just dropping these things that he already knows. Yeah, good call, man. I'm sorry. I forgot all the juice here. So we actually added these KPIs in here so you could see when it was resurfaced and how many times it's resurfaced as a KPI, because I want my team to know, like, hey, man, like, because I know on average, like a lead usually touch 5 to 8 times. Now we touch some a lot more, but usually our deals, we're touching 5 to 8 times, maybe 5 to 9 times now, but 5 to 9 times. How many resurface times do we have to touch it? How many times has this thing been resurfaced before we're able to capitalize on it? And then also, how long has it been in the resurfacing? That's what that is. So like 5 hours ago was its first time. So I know it took 30 days from resurfacing to contract, 60 days, right? Just like you probably know your KPI from lead to contract or from when it's an opportunity to contract, right? Same thing when from resurfacing to contract, and you're able to do that either in the dashboard or if you have your own person pulling the data out into Excel for you because you made your own thing, you could do that now with that. That's a good question, John. I think that's pretty fucking sweet, honestly.
Super excited about all of this. So cool. All right, now I'm gonna open it up to questions in just a minute. But we just went through a lot. We talked about dead reasons. We talked about resurfacing rules. We talked about roles on your people so that they are limited to the next actions available to them. And we talked about push to functionality that is essentially shortcuts to sending it to the right group and the right person. And the bonus that I said, if you hang out here and listen to this, what you'd be able to do, and luckily Brandin, agreed to it twice in the presentation. I did ask him beforehand, but is if you want us to build the rules that you saw here today for you guys, we will do that for you. So all I need you to do is send me an email, john@investorfuse.com. You do have to be a pro or premium user in order to have resurfacing. If you are not, just send me an email anyways and I'll tell you what you are. But shoot me an email, john@investorfuse.com, put it in the chat, and then our team will work with you to make sure that we build those in. And maybe you don't want all of them. Maybe you just want, a training session for some further guidance on how to set this up for your team. We're happy to do that as well. So just shoot me an email and we will help you with that. All right, I cut that part out for anybody that watched the replay. So just you guys here
For sure.
heard that. If you're not an InvestorFuse customer and you want this, it sounds amazing because it is amazing. You don't want to spend any more money on marketing. You just want to continue to work your leads and get some awesome 70K deal like Brandin did. Shoot an email to Carlos, carlos@investorfuse.com. And
I claim no genius for that. The other thing, John, too, is like, keep in mind the automations here, like it's worth it. Like I know teams that have started doing this, but they had to do it like I used to, very manually in a long way. So I know there's a lot of people teaching this stuff, but nobody has had a system directly made for it. And that's what this is. It's not just, oh, let me be a Podio user and let me put them in another. Remember these guys? If anyone used Podio, View. I can View.
The View.
I hate View. Right? It's not like that. Right? We don't have a lot of buttons to push or anything. This is so automated because he made it specifically for it. Why? Because I actually needed it. And that's why I always tell you guys to DM me with any questions, because I'm actually using it. I'm actually doing it. So if you have questions about how to utilize this, I know I was messaging somebody the other week about it. Just let me know and I can, because I'm always changing these rules. I'm always changing them because my team's always changing.
Yeah, I think that's the key part. Once you have the concept of how it actually works and what it can do, then it's really easy for you to kind of come up with things on the fly and say, like, we need a training section or whatever. Brought to you by Pellegrino. Awesome, cool. I see a bunch of people already emailing me, which is fantastic. So yeah, let's.
I just wanted to say to Justin Taylor over here, bro, I really appreciate you turning your camera on. You're the only one who's like, fuck it. Let's turn my camera on so everybody can see me while everyone else hides out in the shadows, bro. I don't personally know you, but I respect it because you've been cracking your neck the whole fucking time. And I love it. I've just been watching you. You were the person I was focusing on because I was the only person that had their camera on. So I was like talking to you the whole time. So I appreciate you, man.
That's some good stuff right there.
Thanks.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. Well, let's open it for questions. Does anybody want to know any more about what you saw? Any other questions? Anything related to InvestorFuse or wholesale? But we can make this like almost a live let's talk real estate on Friday with people asking questions. But you literally can raise your hand if you want to. You can unmute. You can type in your question into the chat. This the reason it's a meeting is we can just converse.
See a lot of existing customers.
Were you
Yes.
Existing members.
questions about InvestorFuse?
Sure, you're a little.
I can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
Let me plug in my mic. Maybe it'll. Is that better?
Same input source, I think.
Let's see. Does that sound better right there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
better.
There we go. I've got my actual computer set up way over there. So I think I was away from the mic, but no, I was saying, you were saying just general InvestorFuse questions.
Yeah, we'll take those.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I guess for so I do a little bit of wholesaling and flipping, and I've actually got more flips than I do wholesales. And when I first started with InvestorFuse, it's a great lead management system, but I use a software called FlipperForce to kind of manage my projects. Am I missing out on anything in InvestorFuse to manage my projects, or should I try to keep the two separate, I guess? Because I've only had InvestorFuse for about 6 months. So I'm still kind of learning the ins and outs of it. And I didn't know if there was a setup for like project management, or if I should probably just stick with FlipperForce.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add my 2 cents, and then maybe Brandon can give his 2 cents because he as well is a big flipper. But yeah, no. So I think you're doing it right currently. And I mean, not that anything we have right now would change what you're looking to do. But I'll say our perspective on software, right, is we're not attempting to be a all-in-one solution that does everything. We are focusing deeply on the acquisitions process, and only recently have we started to focus on the transaction side of things. So we have transactions management coming out. But that's really going to be more focused towards your transaction manager and being able to move statuses through and pre-populate tasks and such. So it's still not a flip management tool, because you could do some of it if you're like, not super complicated. But I mean, I'm not that knowledgeable of flipping, but I have seen Brandon's spreadsheets for his flips, and I'm just like, good God, there's no way I'm building this.
I use FlipperForce too, man. So I use that too, just to manage like our work scopes and stuff, and like our budgets, like our initials, and to kind of keep track of our projects. The only thing I could say is when the transaction thing comes out, it's going to be great just to handle the purchase side of it. You know what I mean? Like just making sure you're handling the transaction. Because if you're like me, I take down my own wholesale deals to turn them into flips instead of wholesaling them. So the transaction will handle it to there. But I like FlipperForce because it handles it from that. I mean, you don't want John trying to create a flip software, right? He's going to create the sales software. But I would recommend sticking with FlipperForce or whatever. I know other guys use other things. Like I use FlipperForce and Company Cam as my 2 big softwares for flipping.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was getting a little bit of FOMO. I didn't know if I was missing out on anything, I guess, with InvestorFuse. So I guess just kind of summing it up is just, like you said, just its focus is just for the acquisition side, and anything outside of that doesn't need to overwhelm, I guess, the focus of acquisition.
For now, not to say we won't change that tune in 3 years, but our goal is to consistently move through different departments of the business to a degree. Like we'll never do lead gen, and do them really, really well, as opposed to like, hey, let's do everything at a marginally okay level, and try to be an all-in-one software. We just deep dive into a specific department and its pain points in an attempt to solve that.
Okay, awesome.
JT, I'll add on too. If you're 6 months and you're not feeling fully confident with InvestorFuse, 100% use the link I dropped in the chat to schedule a training call with our team. That's really something that we're best in class at for any type of tool that's on the marketplace, is like getting your team confident and onboarded into actually working leads for you. Just with stuff that we have coming out too, you guys are going to want to, like, hats off to you guys hopping on webinars like this, and we'll send you guys the replay. But with new things rolling out, you're going to want to schedule trainings and review the knowledge base as well. Going to take a little bit of time. Like Brandon, like, love a lot of things about Brandon, but he does serious CRM training with his team. Like that's why he's getting these type of deals now and has systems set up and is like a direct influence on how John and the dev team are building InvestorFuse. So 100% schedule trainings with our team so you can see how you want to use it. And then part of you're in the academy. Part of the internal meetings you have with your team is training them on how you want them to utilize InvestorFuse, which is super simple and easy to use. And we do let lead gen experts, we will never do lead gen because we let lead gen experts shout out GeoFlip, like them. I see them on the meeting, do their thing, and then they come into InvestorFuse.
Heck yeah.
So good stuff, JC.
No,
I see
investor,
oh, go ahead, JT.
no, I was just saying, no, InvestorFuse has been great on the acquisition side. I didn't mean, I wasn't, I guess, figuring it out. It's been great. I mean, we've already, I guess, I love how it kind of tracks in the background, how many touch points it's getting every week. And I think in the last 6 months, we've closed about 6 deals that just kind of resurfaced from the follow-up process. So no, it's great on that end. I just didn't know if it had like a, I guess, flip management type style, but no, that answers my question. It's by far a really great lead management software. I love it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've seen you post KPIs and stuff. So that's awesome. But I'm just saying, definitely feel free to schedule those trainings for sure. Super, super helpful. I see my man Warren with the fresh InvestorFuse tee. Look at that, looking great.
I had to represent, so I wasn't going to turn my camera on until I had the shirt on. I did
put it on for the
I had to rush and put it on, shower, get fresh for that. But no, I had a question with and I missed the first part of it, so I apologize for that. But I may have missed this question. But so I have a lead manager and I have an acquisition manager. I'm onboarding another acquisitions manager as of next week. So will my lead manager be able to push a lead to the acquisitions group and it round robins? So that way the 2 acquisition managers are going to get a fair shot at the leads.
All right. I will. So that request came down the pipe and I have heard it.
Okay.
We talked about it at our dev meeting a week ago.
Okay.
And so it doesn't quite work. Yeah, no, it doesn't quite work like that. I think
Okay.
we could implement that. But that being said, I would love Brandin to give his feedback on why unassigning to a group, because you're a premium member, you have groups, and unassigning to a group works really well and what it does for his team dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was a roundabout way that you could make that happen though. Currently, if you kind of finagle it, you could kind of do that.
I was just
But,
thinking because push to, I don't think would ruin it. I mean, you could do it when a lead comes in, but from a person to another group and then round robin the group.
If you set the group's rule up to round robin, I think you might be able to wing it that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna look. But you talk about unassigned.
I don't know, man. Like, listen, I'm not gonna come down on my man Warren over here, man. He follows me on Instagram. I know him, but it's like I'm not a believer in round robin where I'll like fuck fair. Like, this is sales, baby. You're supposed to hunt to kill. So I put it in the group. And so it depends on how many closers you have too. Like, obviously, like fighting it out with one person, like they're fighting amongst themselves. So that's irrelevant. You and the one closer and the boss, that's kind of irrelevant too. But when you have 2, 3, 4 closers or more, I put it in the group because I want them working. And then I set certain rules up on their like opportunity restrictions so they can't thwart them. Right. And then my manager is always watching to make sure I don't believe in the round robin because I don't want it to go you and then you and then you and then each person gets an opportunity to take this. It's like, here it is, guys. Like, it's this bucket. It's like fishing, shooting fish in a barrel. Just go get it. And that's just my personality. I don't think there's anything wrong with round robin. It's just not how I do business.
No, I like that. Especially I'm trying to drive competition on my team. So I think that that'll be the feast and famine. So if I have a group with all the hot leads in there and they're going in and they're pulling the unassigned ones, that's what you're doing now though, right?
Yeah. So I leave it unassigned in the group.
Okay.
And then they go over. And the other thing to drive like competition. So every morning we do a morning meeting and I make my team, one of the first things we talk about is what'd you do yesterday? So like, I need your numbers from yesterday, even though I already know them, I make them regurgitate. So that way it shoves it down everyone's face. Like, oh, this person made 3 offers. They got 1 contract. They made 50 contacts or whatever it is. Right. So we do that. So that way, oh, when'd you get that lead? And I already know the answer. My manager does. So we'll be like, oh, you picked up that live transfer that was hanging around, right? Like, you grabbed that lead as soon as it came in. What'd you do with that? Well, I made an offer on it, got a contract. So that's how I drive competition too, is in the morning meetings.
So do you have, I'm not trying to hog the whole show, but do you have a lead manager that's calling everybody, or you just have a ton of closers just going after it.
Yeah, I don't do the lead manager thing. So my team's set up differently. So I own my own call center.
Okay.
Just for me. So
Mhm.
we have like a transitionary period, like everyone progresses through, but my call center, we do cold calling, direct mail, RVMs, we do this, and we're looking at another channel too, but those are our big marketing channels.
Okay.
And so when a cold call team pushes it through, or my RVMs go to my call center and they push that over too, it's first come, first serve to my closers. I don't want a lead manager touching it because my cold callers are already determining warm leads. I don't let my leads drop into IF3 until they're touched by somebody. So my team's set up a little bit different. So
Okay.
maybe your lead manager is kind of doing what my call center is doing for me, which
Yeah.
is like, what do you call it? Screening the leads first. My leads already come pre-screened into my IF3. So my numbers are of actual leads, not just random, RVMs, man. Like with RVMs, I get like 300 calls, only 2 of them are people who want to talk. That would really
Yeah.
fuck my KPIs up.
Yeah, no, straight up, straight up. I like that idea. I might need a new lead manager in a couple of months because she's moving. And now I was considering on whether I still needed a lead manager or not, or add another acquisitions manager. So thanks for the feedback.
Yeah.
Back to you,
I
John.
fully believe in putting my closers to the work. I just want to, my key thing takeaway, no matter what it is, however you do it, I only want my closers to focus on closing and not be prospecting. They shouldn't be prospecting. That's why I had the call center, because I don't want them answering fuck you calls all day long.
Yeah, no, I love it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you could do it a little differently too, depending upon the team setup. I mean, I like the closer setup too, and some of the best performing teams that I have seen function that same way. Like their closers are getting the calls. But let's say, for example, depending upon the marketing, your direct mail versus your ringless voicemail, right? 2 types of leads are calling there, like the direct mail or motivated people. They could be saying, don't ever contact me again, right?
Yeah.
Or let's go PPC and ringless voicemail. Okay,
Mhm.
PPC highly motivated, like they're coming for a reason.
Yeah.
Ringless voicemail, good chance not, right? And so what you could do per campaign inside of InvestorFuse is say PPC is going to my closers, but I want my ringless voicemail going to this lead manager / follow-up specialist, and then they push to the closers upon qualifying that.
And you can have it go to a user too. Like when I was just when I was building my team, a lot of my most motivated leads went directly to my cell phone through smartphone and stuff. So John's right.
Mhm.
Like that's the thing, man. And if you want to know, just DM me. I mean, I can walk you through all this shit, but or Carlos can too. But yeah, you could set it up. I do. I kind of lied, but like my direct mail doesn't go to my call center. I do what John was like with the PPC. My direct mail is so high value. I have them go directly to my closers because I want them answering them. I don't want them to go to a call center, right? Direct mail is either it's 50-50, fuck you, or it's I'm calling because of the postcards. Let me sell you my house. And I would do the same with PPC. I would not run that through a lead manager. I would not run that through anybody but somebody that's ready to close them on the phone.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I feel like I had something else.
I like what Carlos said. Deer is not berries, baby. Deer is not berries.
That was an hilarious line that you said in the middle of that. The foraging. I don't want my closers out there fucking looking for berries or something. That's hilarious.
Foraging?
I don't want
Foraging for berries?
Yeah,
What was
foraging. Hilarious stuff. Awesome. What other questions we got?
Two. It's hilarious for how accurate it is and the
Yeah,
delivery.
Very true. No other questions? Like you're just like 100% confident and ready to go implement?
Well, I think they're confident in you guys getting them set up.
It's not that I don't have questions. I usually got to go implement and then I'll have questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Awesome. Well, here's what I'm going to start wrapping it up. And then if you do have a question, put it in the chat. But so from this, if you haven't emailed me already and you want help setting this stuff up, john@investorfuse.com. If you're not an InvestorFuse member and would like to be, reach out to Carlos at investorfuse.com. And then I would highly recommend that all of you go watch our podcast on Friday live or watch the replay. Because if you enjoyed Brandon talking there for 30 minutes about all this stuff, that is what we do for an hour each week. And it's
Break out the hammer and we talk about real estate.
exactly. And we go through all of it and dig into a bunch of stuff. How many does your closer trying to get a hold of a new lead before it gets transferred to another group? There you go, Brandon. That one's for you.
That's a good question.
How many times? I'm assuming we're missing the word times. Does your closer try to get a hold of a new lead before he gets transferred to another group? It depends. So again, I train them to read the notes. So like I explained to Warren, all of my leads go through my call center if it's not like direct, like a PPC direct mail, right? So they'll read the notes and they'll decide hunter or forager. If it's a pain, they're going to hunt that longer than they would if it's just somebody that says, I'm moving. Yeah, I need to sell, and it's kind of like that average non-pain motivation. Then that one, they'll end that a lot sooner. But we do in the first 24 hours, it's call, text, call. In the first 7 days, you have to get a hold of them. I think we do 10, 12 contacts in the first week. So in the first 24 hours, it's 3. In the first 7 days, I'm going to say 10 or 12. I'd have to look at our thing. Raul does that for me. 10 to 12 contacts. If at that point you haven't gotten a hold of them, we're going to code that out as a lead not responding. So generally, to answer your question, 10 to 12 times, I guess that's an easy way to sum it up, but it's not, I don't make it as simple as that. We do use this hunting mentality where I want to hunt pain. And I do not want to just leave something in, because my follow specialist also isn't trained to hunt, right? She's trained to forage. So she's just going through. So if you leave somebody with pain and you give up after 4 freaking days, Warren's going to call them and fucking crush it and take my lead from me. And I don't want that to happen, even though it still does, right? But I want to try my best to minimize Warren stealing all my deals.
Wait, Warren, you're in Lakeland? I didn't realize you were in Lakeland.
Well, I don't know what markets he's in. I was just picking on him.
Nationwide, baby.
Oh, okay.
Warren's like, I got to bounce. I got these fresh leads to call.
And just remember too, like you want to keep your closers focusing. Remember, clogged pipelines are no good pipelines. So if they're calling a bunch of people that aren't picking up, and I had that happen, and they're like, oh, boss, I called like 150 people today. Who gives a fuck how many people you dialed? I mean, what are you just calling the people you know that won't pick up? So we have them cycle through. I don't want you calling 150 people. It means you're not, that's not a congratulations or pat on the back. That's a bad job, actually. It means you're not doing something right.
How do you
What was
figure that out?
Clogged pipes. What was the quote there? It was a good.
I make shit up as I go. Clogged pipes. Clogged pipeline is not a good pipeline. You need to down the pipeline, out the pipeline.
Yes, down or out. I like that too. Sweet. Any other questions?
Hi guys. Lock and load, baby. Let's lock and load. Let's everyone. Today's an excellent day to make some money. You got to get out there and have some meaningful conversations. Lock and load, baby. Lock and load.
Last thing.
Absolutely.
Keep an eye out on your email starting Friday and into next week. Brandon and I are launching a new product, totally separate from InvestorFuse, totally in a different area of your RAI ops.
It's called RAI Ops Center, and it's for all the people that have a data and are sick and tired of all the other people offering databases that control your data and restrict how you can look at your data. We are releasing a database that frees your data and allows you to understand your data and doesn't restrict how many phone numbers, how many husband-wife combos, multiple sellers, multiple mailing addresses. It allows you to run your data no matter whether you got 2 million or 3 million. 5 million will allow you to upload it depending on the plan. But yeah,
there you go.
Gonna be huge and really a perfect complementary piece to InvestorFuse, because everybody on this call is an InvestorFuse member.
What? I'm just gonna fucking say it.
Rap to me.
John's gonna kill me. John's gonna kill me. There's going to be a link between RAI Ops Center and IF3.
All right.
Oh,
yeah. You can now keep track of whatever leads you have in your CRM. You don't need to waste money on marketing again.
Let's go.
I know, John. He's gonna fucking yell at me later. Like, Matt, you weren't supposed to say that. I fucking said it.
Keep an eye out for your email. That invite will be coming Friday through next week. So it's gonna be on July 7th. Will be the webinar. So Hope to see you all on that one as well.
Absolutely. Catch you guys Friday on Let's Talk Real Estate for
Let's
more.
talk real estate. Brandin
Brandin.
every Friday.
Yep. JT, Warren, I see your guys' faces, but we see everybody's names on here. A lot of familiar faces. Good to see all you guys. And
Appreciate
catch you
y'all.
Friday. Have a great fourth.
Thanks for doing this, Brandon. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Boom. Love it, guys. I have 3.
See you guys.